Dave, in the last couple of years, we've managed to see what new ownership in places like BC and Montreal have done to revitalize those franchises. It looks like we're headed in that direction in Edmonton. What's the latest?
Well, the Edmonton Elks, this has been going on throughout 2024. The process, they struck a committee to find new ownership. Of course, that team had been under community ownership throughout its 75-year existence. When they put out invitations for expressions of interest, they got nearly 20 parties that were able to come in, sign non-disclosure agreements, and study the Elks. And now they have whittled that down to roughly about a half dozen groups, which are being invited to make formal proposals to be the new owners of the Edmonton Elks. Those proposals are all expected to come in within the next couple of weeks. Now, as for a timeline of this, back in the winter, I think they were hoping to have this process wrapped up about the start of the regular season. Because there was so much to go through, that is now likely a mid-season transaction that they are aiming for, but it's not a situation where the club has any cash calls or any issues of those kinds of things. They can take their time, make the choice, and ultimately this is going to come down to, I think, a lot to do with the investment of the club. The price of the club is not so much the factor because it's being sold by a nonprofit to a new owner, but all indications are the Edmonton Elks will be in new and private hands for the first time, roughly around the midpoint of this season.
Meanwhile, just over a month ago, we had CFL Combine Week. That included the Rules Committee and some discussions around potential changes to the kickoff. Obviously, anything like that potentially changes things for what traditional fans view as the essence of Canadian football is going to raise some eyebrows. What's the latest there?
Well, of course, yeah. And this discussion the CFL had back at its Combine took place about a week before the National Football League did change its kickoff and go with what's called the XFL model, the shortened kickoff. Now, the CFL has discussed that model. It's also looked at the option of allowing teams the choice to scrimmage the ball on the 40-yard line after a touchdown rather than accepting a kickoff as they do now. Now, the implication of that is you're going to have a lot fewer kickoffs because teams are going to likely take the vast majority of the time. They would take it on the 40. There's some feeling about the XFL kickoff. Is that the way the CFL wants to go? I think there's a sensitivity, Farhan, that as much as this was a real debate south of the border in the NFL, when it comes to the three-down game, I mean, the role of kick returners is just so much bigger in the CFL game that there's a lot of sensitivity, a lot of emotion around this. I think it's likely, this has not been decided finally yet, but I believe the direction this is going is they're going to strike a committee to study this. And of course, it's a good time to do it because they're going to be able to study the NFL going through this kickoff for the very first time this coming season, and also look at some of the data of their own league and come up with a decision likely to be made in the offseason of 24-25.
Trying to keep special teams a special part of the Canadian Football League while also managing safety.